Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Bayou Bets for Monday, September the 12th. Zach Ewing, along with Jim Derry and Spencer the Guru, here on a post-Saints victory Monday. Barely.
Sort of.
Barely.
Win's a win in the NFL. I mean, you can say sort of, but it's a win, man. I know they played bad for 3 quarters, but that fourth quarter comeback, that's all they needed.
Ever the optimist, Spencer.
Jim, let's start with you because I think one thing you said on Thursday really hit the nail on the head is that Saints fans, you're going to get a win, but you're going to be left sitting at about 3 o'clock saying, what the hell just happened? And that was really, I think, the feeling of a lot of people.
It's pretty much the theme of attitude today. If you haven't listened, go for it. The theme was, what the hell was that? And, we went through and at the end tried to find the answer, and the answer at the end was, hell if I know. I mean, that's what it was. I mean, and even though I predicted it, and it came out almost exactly. Well, I didn't predict them to be down 16 and come back in the fourth quarter. So I don't think anybody would have predicted that. But I mean, although the script came out very similar to what I wrote and predicted, I still am surprised. I'm surprised that for 3 quarters that there were no shows, and it's nice to see that they were able to find a way to come back. But you look through this game, and I didn't think I would be saying this because I hate overreaction Monday, but there's a lot more negatives than positives that come out of this game. That the coaching was awful. I thought especially the offensive play calling was horrendous. There was no offensive line whatsoever. Jameis was left fending for himself for 3 quarters, and really into the fourth quarter, he just said to hell with it. I can't hit a curveball. To hell with you, Joe Boo. I do it myself. I mean, that's really what kind of happened. So it was him, Michael Thomas, and Jarvis Landry just kind of got together and said, we're going to win this thing, boys. And they did. Yeah,
that was the case. It's their talent won out there because, Atlanta's roster is just not very good. So the thing I was most disappointed in was the defense. I couldn't believe how bad the defense played. I know they got some big stops in the fourth quarter, but, man, they just look so awful, especially against the run. Come on, man. Cordero Patterson's not that good. That was inexcusable how bad the run defense was.
Yeah, guys, look, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I think because I went through this with my alma mater with Mizzou on Saturday, it is easy to say the play calling was terrible. When the offensive line is struggling, the play calling always looks terrible. Because nothing works. If you're getting blown up in the backfield, the running backs don't have time, the quarterbacks don't have time. Nothing looks good because you're not actually seeing what the play was designed to be.
When Alvin Kamara gives 10 touches in a game, you got a real problem, and I think it was Pete Carmichael panic mode. I don't have Sean Payton in my ear. I really don't think that I didn't think that, and again, it's game 1. So I think they'll figure things out as they go along, but I really didn't think that missing Sean Payton would mean all that much. And then I realized Pete Carmichael has never done this without Sean Payton in his ear before, or Sean Payton making the play calls and him giving his input or whatever it was. But it definitely made a difference. And you look at the panic 2-point call after they had with a chance to tie the game in the fourth quarter, and they run some kind of wildcat play that doesn't involve Taysom Hill. You take Michael Thomas off the field. Jameis Winston just scored 2 touchdowns with Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry, and I'm not sure about Landry, but I know that Jameis Winston and Michael Thomas weren't in there. It made 0 sense, the play call. If you're going to do that, you have to do it with Taysom Hill. And that was a panic play call that just kind of proved my point. And then, comes down, Jameis made some silly mistakes down the road. But, when you spike the ball with 24 seconds left, you got to spike the ball. We get that on third down. You have to spike the ball. But to do it with 24 seconds left is only about 30% Jameis's fault. There's a reason there are speakers in that headset. And some coach on the sideline needs to be telling them, okay, and be calm about it. Okay, we're going to wait till there's 5 seconds left on the clock to spike the ball, and he's running up the line to spike the ball. There's nobody telling him anything. He's getting no guidance whatsoever. Pretty bad. And so, Alvin Kamara may have a rib injury, but he was still in there into the fourth quarter, and he only touched the ball 10 times, and that includes a pass catch. 9 carries for 36 yards is unacceptable at any point, unless he's hurt, and then play him.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely things to improve. There's no doubt about that. That you always want to have. It's the old coach's cliche. You always want to have these conversations after a win versus a loss, and so they did get to win. Obviously, if they play like that next week, the Buccaneers are going to come into the Superdome and whip up on the Saints. I think we can all agree on that. Like you're going to have to get a lot better on both sides of the ball. Defensive line's got to stop the run better. Offensive line's got to protect better. All of the above. You mentioned the whole spike the ball. When the clock was stopped, and which to me is a really, really harsh penalty to give 10 yards and a loss of down for that. But it is what it is. And then he spikes the ball too fast. You're right, Jim. I don't know how much to put on the coaching staff, how much to put on Jameis. I tend to give him half a pass for that because that's just a crazy situation. Yes, they're supposed to know the rules, but when you have 10 seconds to recall the rule and what you're supposed to do, and you're trying to
I'm not talking about that one. That one doesn't bother me. The one where he spiked the ball and they got the intentional grounded penalty doesn't bother me because Jarvis is running back to the line. You're right. They didn't have a lot of time. He thought the clock was running. Hell, I thought the clock was running. I'm watching the game with the clock in front of me on a screen. So I give him a pass for that one. That one doesn't bother me nearly as much as the third down spike.
I take them as a package because then you have to realize in your head, okay, it's now second down. We ran a play, it's now third down. If I spike it, it's fourth down. Like there's all these things that you have to process in the matter of seconds. And I'm not saying that they can't do it. They're professionals. They should be able to do it. But I do give them half a pass for that. But I mean, just in a larger sense, because I listened to the end of the game on the radio. I was driving back from my son's soccer tournament. I mean, it felt like the whole H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds radio broadcast, where you're like, is somebody reading a story to me? Because I can't believe.
I think Zach froze up there, Spencer.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was unbelievable, that ending.
Well, I mean, and I'm going to take him out for a second until he comes back. But look, I get what Zach's saying. And look, and here Mark Guillory says, on the play, the refs didn't make it clear. I'm not talking about that play. Again, I give him a pass for that. I give him a pass for that. I hear what Zach's saying. I don't disagree with what I'm saying. It's the first week with the new coaching staff, so they get somewhat of a pass anyway.
Yeah.
But at the same point, the fact that it seemed to be just kind of a panicky thing, and that third down one really bothers me because the coaches really need to be in there.
Yeah, Pete Carmichael kind of showed that. Without like you said earlier, Jim, without Sean Payton, that it's going to be. And I kind of expected that though. I was not surprised about the offense. I figured they would come out kind of sluggish. That's why I was kind of surprised the over ended up hitting. Because I just didn't think Atlanta was going to do all that with their running game. It was kind of like the way the Eagles gashed the Saints last year with Jalen Hurts and their running backs. It was very reminiscent of that to me with Marcus Mariota. But luckily for the Saints, they showed why they're in rebuilding mode. I mean, down the stretch, they just showed that they weren't cut out to win in the clutch. I mean, Mariota just showed why he's been a backup quarterback the past 2 years.
I said that. And, I love this comment. This is my favorite comment of them all. And Steven, I'm not making fun of you particularly, but it's exactly what I said. I also predicted that the people that said the Saints were 15-2 and 14-3, and I'm not saying Stephen Wainwright said that.
Where's Kyle at?
Where is he? But those same people, it's like overreaction Monday. It doesn't mean the Saints aren't good because the main thing of what we talked about in Attitude today was we knew that the floor for this team is the team we saw the first 3 quarters. That's the floor, which is worse than 7.5 wins, which is why if you make a bet, that they could be worse. They certainly could be worse than 7.5 wins. We saw that in the first 3 quarters. Then the ceiling is that the team we saw in the fourth quarter that could win 11 and 12 games. You're probably going to get something in the middle the rest of the way, but you very well could get that team you saw in the first 3 quarters for a lot of the season. And look what Tampa did to Dallas last night. And don't get me wrong, the Tampa defense was really good last night, and I know we'll get to that in a minute, but their offense wasn't very good, I didn't think. So I don't think Tampa's all that great either. So this is going to be a weird year. And we can talk about overreaction Monday later, but as far as the Saints go, I don't feel any different about them than I felt going into this game. They did what I thought they were going to do. It's always tough to play Atlanta. The Saints could be 15-0, and the Falcons could be 0-15, and I would not be 100% confident the Saints are going to win the game because it's always weird when they play them. It was weird again, and who knows, they may go out and stink up the joint next week, or they may go out and be one of the best teams in the NFL. I can tell you it's not going to be on my top 5 money card next week.
I mean, you look, it's the NFL, and the Falcons may be the worst team in the NFL or one of the 5 worst teams or whatever you want to say. They still have talented players. They're still going to give you problems. I do want to remind everybody you're watching Bayou Bets. We got a little into it fast there, but we do have a special for those looking to sign up for Caesars Sportsbook. That's our sponsor. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. Get your first bet free or risk-free, I should say, up to $1,250. A couple of other reminders. Subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. If you're not watching on the Bayou Bets YouTube channel right now, then go ahead and subscribe. Give us a like. And we have Cash In with Carville every Thursday where we talk to James Carville and get his picks. And finally, sign up for our newsletter, NOLA.com/Bayou Bets. 6 mornings a week, you get our thoughts and our links and our coverage in your email inbox. So you don't have to worry about remembering to check or what time anything is. You just check it, and it's right there in your inbox. NOLA.com/Bayou Bets.
Kyle Brister, put the crack pipe down.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, this is a good segue because I was going to ask Kyle what his revised record was. He went from 15-2 to just 14-3. Yeah, they did win, and like I said, that's better than nothing else. If the Falcons win 8 games, I'll be very surprised. But they could. Look, let's talk about the Bucs. This line opened -2. It's already pushed up to Bucs -3. You're right, Jim. The Bucs offense, not good, especially not in the red zone, was not good last night. They moved the ball between the 20s pretty good against Dallas, and then stalled. Had to kick. I think they had to try 5 field goals and made 4 of them. So they come in as 3-point road favorites. What do we think about this one? The Saints have won 5 of the last 6 against Tampa Bay, with the only exception of the playoff game. But obviously they're going to have to play better.
Go ahead, Spence. You can go first.
Okay. I think with the points on, I don't know who to win it. I think it's a coin flip kind of game. But with the 3 points, I think the Saints could very well win it. So I don't know if I'd quite feel confident enough to go to money line, but I think they can cover that spread. I mean, 3. I think it's going to be back and forth. Jameis is a fairly high score, and I feel like it'd probably be another long day for the Saints defense. Definitely don't see it being like last year's 9-0 Bucs Saints contest. It'll probably be more like the first one from last year, the one that was more of a shootout.
Oh, Zach, I haven't made my pick yet, but I'll probably be a dummy again and pick Tampa. I haven't made my decision. Whatever I pick, I can tell you right now, this will not be on my card. I didn't get enough read from either team to figure out how I feel about it. I just don't feel this is the same defense that beat Tampa 4 times out of 5. I just don't. I don't know if Paulson Adebo is going to play. That's going to make a huge difference for me. Yeah, blah blah blah. We know that. This is not the same year. It's not the same coaching staff. It's obviously not the same offensive line. If that offensive line plays anything like they played on Sunday, the Saints will get blown out of the Superdome. I'll tell you that right now. You can't play a 2-minute drill for 60 minutes. You just can't. You can't, and they won't. If Alvin Kamara, if you look at the score sheet on Monday morning or Sunday night, and he's got 9 carries next to his name, the Saints got their ass kicked. That's just plain and simple. They can't do it. So the coaching staff needs to sit in a room, figure out, here's what we screwed up on. Because I blame more of it on them than anything. The O-line stunk, but other than that, I blame more of it on the coaching staff than anything. They need to sit in a room and say, these are the things we did wrong, and we need to at least fix half of them by Sunday, because I'm not saying Tampa's coaching staff is great, but they don't have to be when they got number 12 on their side. And so, that's what it is.
Dave, this is the one thing they know how to beat Brady. I mean, pressure up the middle, and Dennis Allen has been able to do that the last few times that they played Tampa Bay. That's going to be a key. Kyle, I got to know, man. I got to see like your projected standings for the whole NFL, because I think you have everybody like either 15-2 or 2-15.
This guy is,
that's not how the NFL works, man. But it is Overreaction Monday, so there you go.
Gen Zer.
Yeah. Well, you said he was older, right, Spencer?
Oh yeah, he's definitely not a Gen Zer.
Okay, well, millennials aren't much better. Sorry, Zach.
No, he's more around your age, Jim.
He's around my age? This dude's my age?
So.
Oh, wow. Man. Gen Yers are.
Look, it's Overreaction Monday, and we all know Saints fans are the best at that. But yeah. I mean, the fact of the matter is they have to play better. But they're 1-0. They played poorly and still won a game on the road in the NFL. That's not easy to do. I don't care who you're playing. And so, there's still a lot of hope. And I had the Saints in Survivor, so I'm feeling lucky.
I have a question, Zach.
Cool.
You think Colts fans in Indianapolis think they're going 16-0-1?
Maybe a couple of them.
The Kyle Bristers of Indy?
Matt Ryan, yeah.
The Kyle Bristers of Indy think they're going to go 15-1-1. I think we still can do it. We can still go undefeated.
Yep, the only loss they'll get is when they play the Texans again.
Yeah, here you go. 15-1-1 with a loss to the Texans.
Yeah, Texans are going to go 16-0-1. So
there you go. That's one hell of a division there, Spencer.
Oh yeah, and then Jags and Titans 1-16, 0-17.
Bears going 17-0. I mean. The Steelers, I mean, even though they might not have TJ Watt for the whole season, Steelers. Hey, look, here you go. I told y'all, this is what I talk about every year at this time. I told y'all the Texans, it is week 1. Kyle, drive on over to New Orleans. Drive on over to New Orleans. We're going to put a bet in writing. We got to get a bet in writing, and I will put you on my show. I will, Kyle. I will put you on Datitude. I'll give you a 15-minute segment on Datitude if the Texans make the playoffs.
David Sills, baby.
You can mark this down.
I mean, crazier things have happened, but as we look at this list, and obviously there's more games. Dolphins beat the Patriots. Couple of other games. This is only about half of the results here. There were some shocking upsets, and again, in the NFL, nothing is totally shocking. But it goes to show you, like, if you're the Saints, yeah, you played bad. Yeah, you got to get better. You're not going to make the playoffs playing like that. But at the end of the day, you've got one win in the bank. And the 49ers and the Bengals and the Colts and the Packers and the Titans and the Cowboys, none of them have a win in the bank. And so, look, you only get 17 games. They're all very important. Which of these results surprised you guys the most? I would have said the Bears myself. Except I knew, and we'll get to big bucks later, God save me. But, like, if I had known what the field was going to look like, and it's on you as a bettor to check the weather, but, like, once I saw the field and the conditions in that game, I thought, oh, no, I'm not, I don't feel nearly as confident about the 49ers. But other than that, what surprises you guys?
Go first, Spencer.
Okay, yeah. That's definitely to me. I even with the field conditions, I was like, it's not going to matter. The 49ers, they'll just ground and pound their way to the win. But then Elijah Mitchell got hurt, and that changed things. So, and then Trey Lance did not look good at all in the weather. He's just too he's a finesse kind of quarterback as far as he runs a lot, but he's like a pretty runner. He's not a big bulldozer like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. So yeah, definitely a very surprising result there with the Niners. Kind of got exposed to where if they get in the playoffs, that's not going to bode well. They get into some poor weather conditions, they might run into trouble. That's if they even make the playoffs at this point. They just look straight up kind of bad there. And then the Giants surprised me, over the Titans. I figured the Titans would be able to win that one with Derrick Henry and kind of just control the clock. But the Giants came back and Saquon Barkley, very much back. I got some Saquon shares in fantasy, but he even exceeded my expectations. Great week one for a Giants team that's been in the dump the past 5 years or so.
There's no question which game surprises me most. That's the Colts and Texans. You know me, I talk about my golden rule all the time, and it came to fruition again. You just got to stick with the golden rule of a home dog in a division game. You just don't bet against it. And, I, for some reason, went out with the public in this game and the Colts Texans, and I just didn't, going by trends and past results, and I just didn't think that the Colts would be able to do any. I don't think the Texans would be able to score. I thought it would be 27-3 or something along those lines. So Colts and Texans and tie, and the Colts had to fight their keisters off to make it a tie at 2020. So really the Texans definitely should have won the game. And they had several chances to win it and did what the Texans do. But I can tell you right now, I think and I know it's week one, so I'm not going to overreact in the grand scheme of things, but it's something I said before the season, and it certainly played out in week one. Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan are pretty much the same quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. And somebody's going to have to convince me. They're going to have to convince me on the field that the Colts weren't any better with Matt Ryan on the field, and the Washington Commanders were surely, and I know they played the Jaguars, but they were surely a whole lot better with Carson Wentz on the field. So go ahead. Call me wrong, but that's what I saw in week one. So let that be my Kyle Brister moment of the week.
Carson Wentz, MVP.
Let Michael Pittman let Michael Pittman tell you who's better between Matt Ryan and Carson Wentz. He went off yesterday. The other one, Kyle brings up, the Cowboys look. Dak Prescott's out for 6 to 8 weeks, so their season may be over. But even
they're
before
not the
he
worst
left,
team in the league.
No, not the worst team in the league, but without Dak Prescott, they're not going to be very good. And they were not very good on offense last night. The other one didn't get up there. Mark says the Raiders, bad game, had a chance to win against the Chargers, didn't quite pull it out. But just really a fantastic week of entertaining games. And it ends tonight, Monday Night Football. Broncos are 6.5-point chalk in Seattle. So here's another road favorite. That's kind of the theme of the week. And quite frankly, it's why we had a lot of upsets, I think. It's because you had a lot of road favorites. It is hard to win as a road favorite in the NFL. But Spencer, you had best bets tonight. You take Broncos minus the 6.5 over the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm willing to take it because I feel like Russell Wilson is returned to Seattle. He's just going to come out guns a-blazing. There's a reason he wanted out of Seattle. I mean, he could see it. He could see that it was crumbling around him, and he wanted a fresh start, and he's going to get that in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett, who was Aaron Rodgers' OC last few years. Kind of similar to Rodgers in that he's got a big arm, efficient, doesn't throw a lot of picks. So I'm thinking he's going to really thrive in that system. And what better way to start it than, against your old team, kind of get to show them like, y'all traded me? Well, y'all going to regret it. So I'm thinking they're going to run the score up there and win by double digits. And Russ himself, parlay is the other play as far as him going over yards and touchdowns. The only thing that scares me with it is I think it's probably one that the public's all over. So that always makes you a little nervous. But it's just one of those things that logically just you got to go with it because it's just everything's pointing in the direction of a big win for Denver.
I'm going the other way, Zach. I think Seattle in a home field environment with Russell Wilson coming back, I think they're going to be emotional towards his comeback, but I think the team also is going to have something to show. I don't think Seattle's any good, but I will say this. I don't think Denver is that much better. I just don't. I know they have a good defense, but is Russell Wilson going to help them? Of course. I mean, he's certainly better than Drew Lock. He's worlds better than anything that they've had since Peyton Manning, but I think Denver is the fourth best team in the AFC West. And that's the best division in football. By the way, I think it's the best division in football going into the season. But you go into a place, anything can happen in week one, and I think that the Seahawks will be emotionally charged, at least for this 1 week. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think that it's going to be they could both be in the teens. And so that's a lot of points to give in Seattle. I don't remember the last time I had to look to see, but I bet it's been a while since Seattle was a touchdown underdog at home. Well, maybe towards the end of last year when they really stunk it up. But I'm going to take Seattle on this one and take the under. I probably won't parlay it, and I won't play it very much.
Yeah, I mean, I think last year when Russell was out, they probably had games where they were that big of an underdog. But I lean towards where you are, Jim, where you home field. It's week 1. The crowd's going to be going ape. They're going to do anything and everything they can to not get blown out. I also look at that Seattle roster and say, man, it is barren. So I'm not playing this one. Not sure where to go. I might make like a live bet or a halftime bet because once you see where things are going, that becomes a little bit easier. But going into it, I emotionally I'm with where Jim is and say it's going to be real tough for Denver to go in there and just roll over them. But that Seattle roster may just be the worst in the NFL as we talk about worst teams in the NFL.
Bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Carson retired, so their running game's not as good. Bobby Wagner's gone. Their defense. I just say that's what I'm concerned is their defense. I mean, it's like, how are they going to stop Russ? Like, I just don't see it. I mean, maybe you'll be right, Jim, and it'll be an ugly, low-scoring game. But I just think Russ is going to go in there with a big chip on his shoulder and I think he's going to want to stick it to Pete Carroll. All the years that he didn't let Russ cook, Russ is going to cook tonight and show Pete Carroll.
I don't think he has anything against Pete Carroll. I don't think it's your normal. I think
he does. I don't
think it's your normal breakup. I think he does. Maybe. Look, I do. I think Pete Carroll
wanted out. I mean, why else would he have wanted out if he loved Pete so much? He would.
No, I'm not saying he loved Pete, but I don't think it was this thing where they didn't like each other, butted heads. I'll say this: Pete Carroll is one of the most overrated coaches that's ever coached in football. I mean, and I'm talking about ever. I'm not being using hyperbole here. I truly think he's one of the worst coaches that's ever coached, and he's just been in a great situation where his GM has put him in position with the outstanding defenses that he's had and good players that he's had, and got super lucky with Russell Wilson. No one knew Russell Wilson was going to be this good going into the pros, and he ended up winning the job, I think, from Hasselbeck way back
Matt
when.
Flynn.
Matt Flynn, right? That's right.
They had brought in big free agent.
That's right. That's right. And he ended up getting beat up by this rookie named Russell Wilson that no one knew at the time, and so they just got lucky. But I don't think there's hate there. So I don't know.
Also curious to see how Nathaniel Hackett's offense works there in Denver with Russell Wilson, because that'll be a big factor. Pete Carroll, I'll give him this. I think he's a player's coach. I think his players liked him and liked playing hard for him, and that is a skill. I mean, there's no doubt about that. So yes, he was put in good situations, but flags fly forever. He's got championships in college and the NFL. Not a lot of coaches can say that. Speaking of championships, Super Bowl odds already on the move. The Bills' super performance on Thursday. They're now plus 525. That number keeps getting lower. The Bucs have gone down, and then you see on the flip side of that, obviously the Cowboys went all the way up with the Dak Prescott injury to 50-1 at the bottom of your screen. Rams ticked up, Packers ticked up, Vikings are on the way down, the Chargers on the way down, the Chiefs on the way down. So we already start to see movement in this market every week.
I am going to go buy more stock in the San Francisco 49ers. You want to talk about overreaction Monday. I do not like what I saw from Trey Lance. I will say that. I know Nick's going to hate me for saying this, but I think unless Shanahan is just super stubborn, I think in the next couple of weeks, if you don't see major improvement from Trey Lance, they have to put Jimmy Garoppolo in, because that team has way too much talent to let a rookie quarterback bring this team into the abyss. But I'm going to go buy more San Francisco 49ers stock, because I think that they are the best team in the NFC. When all is said and done, either then, I said it before, it's not something I'm not saying. I didn't say it before games were played. I said I thought San Francisco and Minnesota could end up being the top two teams in the NFC. One played like it on Sunday. The other one played the opposite. So you want to give me 25-1 on the Niners, I'm going to go take it.
Yeah, I don't think you can draw too. I mean, you talk about overreaction Monday for week 1, especially when the weather was like it was. I mean, it's not the same game you're playing the other 16 games. So I don't think you can draw too many conclusions from that. But those odds are on the move. We'll keep track of those all year long here on Bayou Bets. I'd like to remind you, go to NOLA.com/Caesars. New users get a risk-free bet up to $1,250. And by the way, if you haven't signed up, just a little teaser for those of you watching the show right now, hold on a day. There's a new promo coming tomorrow, and you get the $1,250 risk-free bet plus the new promo. So just hang on 24 hours, not even 24 hours. Check out our site tomorrow. Go to NOLA.com/Caesars. New promo coming just for this week. So excited about that. Want to switch gears, guys, and go to a little college football. And I will tell you what, Baton Rouge was the epicenter of two things on Saturday night. One was marching bands, and the other one was bad beats. Because if you had LSU minus 49 or minus 49.5, I mean, it was too perfect. And I had Southern plus 49.5. So I was taking a victory lap around my living room when Eric Dooley called timeout with 4 seconds left and kicked a field goal to cover the spread. You see there, LSU covered the closing spread of 44.5, but that was 49.5 for the first 12 hours or so that spread was available on Friday. And so that field goal flipped the spread, flipped the bet for a whole lot of people who bet on that game.
I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but here's the one, and it may be the only one. We're sports betting writers, so take this. I got to be careful with the way that I say this, but to call time out there and to kick a field goal is one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen. It's not like it was a shot. I could see if it was 65-0 and you say, I just want to get on the board. I could almost even see it if it was 65-7 and you say, I want to get into double digits, maybe. But there is zero reason to kick a field goal there. And I got a good buddy who went to Southern. In fact, he was in the Southern band. I was in the LSU band. So we like to give each other the business. And I was asking him last night, and I was kind of I was just expecting to say, whatever, man. I said, was that field goal just to cover the spread? He goes, you know that it was. They need money. They need money in that locker room. I mean, come on. Come on, man.
We were talking about this in the office, actually, just before the show started. There are a couple of plausible explanations. One, and I have not looked at the Southern beat Florida Memorial 86-0 in week 1. I don't know how many times the kicker kicked. Did he grow up an LSU fan? And I use the word plausible. I'm not saying this is probable. Could he have said, I want to get that kicker and experience kicking a field goal in Tiger Stadium? Could he have, we need to get live reps in the kicking game? It's at least plausible deniability to where if you ask him about it, Eric Dooley could say, yeah, we wanted to get. But the other plausible explanation, and to me the probable explanation, is that Eric Dooley knew what the damn spread was.
Of course he did. Of course he knew. And the sad part is, you talk about the field goal kicker, he'd already shanked 2, so they're not practicing field goals. Trust me, Southern's not going to be kicking a lot of field goals this year. They're not. I mean, they might kick field goals when they're inside the 10 or something. There is no other explanation. And if you ask them, the sad thing is he probably wouldn't even get in trouble for it today. I mean, Pete Rose is banned for life because he bet on his own damn baseball team. This dude's like kicking to cover a spread so he can turn a 51-point loss into a 48-point loss so he can cover. And no one cares. I'm not saying it. Maybe nothing is wrong with it. I mean, maybe I'm old school. Nothing's wrong with it, but I don't know how I got to Pete Rose, but Jesus Christ, let Pete Rose back into baseball. Nobody cares anymore.
Pete Rose's problem is he never admitted that he did it until it was way too late. But anyway, but before we get too far down that road, actually the fact that the kicker had shanked 2 earlier in the game gives me 5% more confidence that maybe he did. I want him to go get one. But you're right. I mean, chances are, probability is that he knew what the spread was, that he had a booster in his ear saying, hey, I got a lot of money on this game, and if y'all cover the spread, you're going to see a piece of it for facilities or whatever. I mean, Mark says the school bands were in on it. But it was crazy. I mean, it is you want to talk about drumming interest in a game that was over.
See what you did there.
That was, okay, I didn't mean to do that, actually, but thank you. That game was over 5 minutes in. Southern fumbled the opening kickoff. LSU scored 3 plays later. Then they went down and scored again. I mean, it was like any chance you had of Southern keeping that thing interesting was gone after 5 minutes. And here we are, waiting for the commercial to come back at the end of the game, edge of our seat. Oh, my God, what's going to happen? What's he going to do? That is why we bet on sports right there. Fantastic. Fantastic.
I'd have been really pissed if if I had bet LSU minus 49, which I wouldn't have, but I'd have been super pissed right there. I mean, I don't know. I might have gone on a driving rampage spree and ended up into a swamp somewhere. I'd have been really ticked up. Even for like an $11 bet, I probably would have been.
Yeah, I go back to your rant from about the game, Jim. Here, you got to be a real sicko to bet on this.
You do. That's like you need to call the helpline. If you first of all, I mean, we can make fun of it because I would never bet that, so I don't have to worry about it. If you bet that game, and if you're one of the one, I want to hear you, jderry@theavid.com. I will write a story about you. If you bet on that, if you bet minus 49 and lost, I want to see the ticket though. You need to prove it. I'm just going to write a story because you told me you bet on it. I want to see the ticket, and then I'm going to give you the number, and you're going to call the helpline because you need help.
I took Southern plus 49. Do I qualify?
Yeah.
As a sick, okay. All right. Well, I guess that's why I'm in the position. I'm going to assume that even from Kyle Brister, this is sarcasm, because we'll talk about LSU and Mississippi State in a minute. But some of the other results from Saturday. I mean, you talk about a crazy NFL Sunday. It was also a crazy college football Saturday.
Sun Belt, baby.
Marshall beats Notre Dame.
Let's go.
Yeah, the Sun Belt. App State beats Texas A&M. I didn't put it on here. Georgia Southern beats Nebraska. Kentucky beats Florida. Just upset after upset. The one that didn't happen was Alabama somehow escaped over Texas 20-19 as a 21.5-point favorite. But, guys, I'll tell you what, it was a great day to be stuck on the couch all Saturday.
I know it's September, but it got a little frosty in Lincoln, didn't it, Spence?
Oh, yeah. They freaking fired the coach.
Oh, that's a shame. And, and poor Amy Just. She leaves us to go cover that crap, and the first column I read of her is about they have to fire him. They listened to her. They fired him the next day. So Amy Just already calling shots. App State, Mark says, I took App State to cover in a parlay, but it lost on Notre Dame getting beat by Marshall. And Texas covering too. Well,
It was a rough day if you bet on favorites, man, you were in trouble. Both the NFL and college football this weekend. It's
Zach, the world is spinning. I made two college bets on Saturday, and they both hit. I had the Wisconsin under that we had talked about, and I had Kentucky because we had talked about Kentucky. Even Uncle Big Nick loved Kentucky, so I said, you know what, I'm going to make my under pick, and that one was pretty good. Kentucky wins outright. I even said in best bets, if you got the cojones, you take the money line, but I didn't. I took it with the spread, so I'll have to settle for what I got.
Yeah, Kentucky looked real good. Kentucky may legitimately push Georgia in the East, and I don't say that lightly. I think they get them in Lexington, but Kentucky looked really good. They do. Speaking of the SEC, LSU plays at home against Mississippi State on Saturday night. It's the Bulldogs -2 right now. This is, I mean, we talked about the Florida State game being such a keystone game for LSU. Look, if they win this game, they got New Mexico next week. That's 3-1. Then you go to Auburn. Auburn hasn't looked very good. You can think about 4-1. You start to think of yourself in the SEC race. But you lose this game, and then, look, their last 7 games, one of them is UAB, who's not terrible, but LSU should beat them. And the other 6 are all in the top 25 as of this moment. All 6 of them are in the top 25. Like, LSU does not have a lot of easy wins. They don't have any easy wins on the schedule outside of UAB and New Mexico. So this is one, and I like Mississippi State a lot. They got a lot coming back. They've looked pretty good so far. This is a big game for LSU, and it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, give me LSU, though, with the money line here. I think they're going to win this one. I really do. This is huge. They got to win it. I mean, the Florida State game was huge, and they didn't, but they almost came back. So I'm thinking that they'll perform well in this one. It's just because I think they know they got to win this, because if they don't, they're going to be in for they might only win 4 or 5 games if they don't win this. So if they want to get into a bowl and make some noise in the SEC, this is a must win. I mean, I think they will, though, because they showed me enough down the stretch against Florida State to where I think they've got enough playmakers. Jaden Daniels has potential, or I think they'll be able to do it against what's generally a not so good Mississippi State defense.
I don't think, Zach, that people are I think this is a value play for Mississippi State. I'm not going to play it probably, but I think that there aren't enough anybody's really who have realized how well Mississippi State has played the first 2 weeks of the season. And we can talk about this more in depth later, but this is a complete rebuild job for Brian Kelly. It doesn't mean that LSU's program is done or he's a terrible coach, which is all the dumb, stupid things I've read on social media. It's 2 games into a season, and rebuilding a program takes usually a season or 2 because that's where they are right now. But I think there's big value on Mississippi State. I think if LSU doesn't blow out Southern like this, like they did, and make the big comeback, I think this line would be more like 3.5. And so I think there's at least 2 points, maybe 2.5 point value on Mississippi State. They should be a 4 or 4.5 point favorite. I
agree. I think Mississippi State's a top 25 team. They're just not ranked yet. Like Spencer, what you said, hey, LSU can't afford to lose this game or they're going to go 4-8. Listen, it sucks to suck. That's blunt, but if that's something when you're a good team and you buckle up and say, we can't afford to lose this game, we've got to go out and win it, and then you're motivated and you're more talented, they're not more talented than Mississippi State. And so you can buck up and say, we got to win this game and play hard, and that's great, but that doesn't mean you're going to win. I think LSU's in serious danger of going maybe not 4-8, but I could see 5-7. I think they'll pick off a couple of wins here and there outside of UAB and New Mexico, and so Mississippi State could be one of them, but I certainly would not pick them.
LSU's better than Auburn.
Yeah, they're better than Auburn, although that one's on the road, so that makes that tough. But I think they split Mississippi State and Auburn, most likely beat New Mexico, beat UAB. That gets you to 4 wins, and then maybe you pick off one more somewhere and go 5-7. But I just don't. Look, Brian Kelly's going to do a good job. He's got recruits coming in. LSU will be very good in 2 or 3 years. They're not very good this year.
I'll tell you what, LSU, they're not patient over there. I tell you what, if they go 4-8 or something, they're going to be calling for Kelly's head. They're going to be saying
they can call for
after 1 year.
They can call for Kelly's head all they want. They at least have an administration that I think now is patient. They would not have brought Brian Kelly in to coach here, nor sign him to the contract they signed him to get rid of him in a year or 2. He would have to do something that embarrasses himself to not be here at the end of year 2. And so, LSU fans, suck it up, Buttercup. It doesn't matter what you think. Thank God for once.
And let me say, LSU could win this game. I'm not saying that they have no chance. I'm just saying I don't buy the emotional angle of, they know they need it. Yeah, they know they need it. Well,
it's in Baton Rouge. I don't think that's going to play a part.
Sure. If it was in Starkville, there's no way I'd pick LSU. I think LSU's got a chance. But that was the thing too about Scott Frost. While y'all were making that point, he had a $10 million buyout that expired on September the 30th. You're telling me they couldn't have waited 3 weeks to fire him?
Ooh.
And save 10? Listen, I know it was rock bottom. I know nobody was going to come to the game. Maybe they felt like they would lose $10 million and people not come into the games. But 3 more weeks, you could have saved $10 million.
There might be something else that we don't know behind the scenes to do that. But if I'm the AD at Nebraska, I come out and say, I'm going to fire him on October 1st. You just have to sit and wait. This is I don't care. Is that in the contract? You can't say that? I'm going to say it on the air. I'll say it out loud. I don't care. But I'd save the school $10 million.
You don't have to even say. You don't even need to say it. Just say, hey, he's our coach and we're going to stick with him. And then all of a sudden on October 1st, he's not your coach anymore. Maybe Kyle's right. Maybe that's the answer, is that they felt he's a Nebraska alum. He's a favorite son. Maybe they felt like they owed it to him. I don't know why, because they paid him millions of dollars to lose a lot of games already. But
no, this is a business. Nobody does that because they want to pay him. Or that's ridiculous. This isn't like Joe's food store and the kid's been bagging groceries for me for 6 years. And if he works until Friday, he gets a $1,000 bonus, and I'm going to keep him on until Friday, and he's going to college. Get out of here. This is NCAA football. They're not giving somebody $10 million for free.
Yeah, it's a tough situation up there. All right, looking ahead to this weekend. First, the college games on Saturday. Georgia, South Carolina. That's the other SEC conference game. Interesting. a ton of points. And I know it's going to be popular to lay those points because Georgia is very, very good. But first true road game, that's a lot of points to me. It'll be interesting to see how Nebraska responds with an interim coach, obviously. Auburn gets a big chance to notch a win against Penn State.
Give me the Nits.
Interesting one here. Washington, and that line's been moving. It was, I think, 1.5. It's now Washington by a field goal over Michigan State. That's 2 undefeated Power 5 teams. And then A&M minus 5.5 against Miami.
Why? I mean, look, here's a perfect example of SEC getting a big line boost. That line makes no sense. I mean, I don't want to overreact because it's really only week 3. It's week 3 officially. It's week 4 unofficially of the college football season. But does anybody watch Texas A&M play? I was way wrong about them. They're not very good. I'm very surprised at how bad they are. Meanwhile,
got to get Max Johnson in there.
Yeah, and you would think that they're going to soon. And Miami, meanwhile, has been playing pretty good. So I don't understand that line. I get College Station's a tough place to play. I've been there a few times. I don't like going there, to be honest. But Miami's a better football team, and they're getting points. So I think between that and Penn State is worlds better than Auburn, like way more than -3. So here's 2 cases of the SEC getting way more credit with the lines makers because they're in the SEC. And it kind of goes to LSU. I know Mississippi State's in the SEC, but LSU's thought of old school power SEC. Hence, they're only getting 2. Both of those lines, Auburn and Texas A&M, make no sense to me. I'll be on the other side.
Spencer, anything for you off of that list? The other one, by the way, before we get to you, Mark brings up a good one. Start looking at USC. USC's got Fresno State this weekend. Didn't get a chance to but that's a Pac-12 after dark game worth watching because Fresno State, they lost to Oregon State in a close one, but they probably should have won the game as a game. They had to settle for a lot of field goals and all that kind of stuff. Fresno State will give USC a run. Jake Hayner is the real deal at quarterback.
I'm going to bet on USC overs. I'm not betting on USC, but I might just start playing USC overs.
Lincoln Riley, baby. They spread it out. Yeah. But I'm with Mark. I was say I kind of like BYU this week. I ended up staying up late and watching the Baylor game, which Baylor almost won if they could just completed a free pass. But I like that quarterback BYU. He's pretty good. I mean, so I think they're a decent value there, plus 3.5.
I like BYU's coach, and I always forget his name. What's his name again, Zach? I love that guy. He's got a lot of mo with him. He's fiery. You're on mute.
Well, there you go. It's like Kalani Sitake.
Yeah.
It's a Hawaiian name. It's a Samoan name. He's a very good coach. Does a good job there. And look, BYU always has a good team, and they've got, again, you talk about returning production. Bill Connolly of ESPN does returning production rankings. Mississippi State was first in the SEC in returning talent. BYU was first in the country. So you see the result of those things. Like those teams, they know how to win games. They have talent. I don't really understand that line either. I know Oregon's got talent too. Let's move on to the NFL. This is week 2 games. Of course, we're still finishing up week 1 tonight, but a good one on Thursday, Chargers and Chiefs. That line seems light to me. I mean, you're telling me that if it was in LA, the Chargers would be 3-point favorites?
Well, it's a short week. But, yeah, I still don't understand why the Chiefs aren't getting the love that I would think they would get. They're not getting any love whatsoever. But the one line that sticks out of me, I'm sorry. You want to talk about overreaction Monday. I can tell you right now that this will not only be on my card, it's going to be either number 1 or number 2. There is no way the Titans should be getting 10 points from the Bills.
I knew you were going to say that.
Get the hell out of here. That is absurd. Is that really – there are really 2 Monday games next week, or is that a Titans?
There are, yeah. It's 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. Central. It's not even a true doubleheader. It's a weird deal.
That is weird. But that makes 0 sense whatsoever. The Titans beat the Bills last year, and I get that Josh Allen doesn't slip and fall, that the Bills probably win. They don't win by 10. And that the teams aren't that much different. I get A.J. Brown's going. They're not that much different.
Oh, they're a lot different.
Oh, give me a break. I tell you what, Spence, I'll just make the bet with you, and I could save the juice. You want to take the Bills minus 10?
I might.
All right, good. Save me some juice.
That's too many points for me, but I will say the Titans' offensive line is not nearly as good. Their defense is not as good. I mean,
the Bills aren't as good as everybody thinks they are either.
No, probably not. It is an overreaction line. I don't think I'm going to touch it either way. Certainly would not take the Bills in Survivor. I'm not going to use them on a week when they could possibly lose, when they've got games against the Jets coming up. But yeah, it's that's a big line.
Yeah, you just never know with turnovers. But I think if there's no turnovers, I think the Bills win by double digits. But I mean, you just never know. So I probably won't touch it because that is a lot of points.
That's might be the most insane line that I've seen in 2-3 years.
What do we think about Philly being favored over Minnesota?
Makes sense. They're at home. I mean, they look good. You know, I think there's probably more value at Minnesota, though, because, I mean, Philly, I mean, they beat Detroit, and in Detroit backdoor covered. I mean, Philly's defense didn't look all that great. DeAndre Swift gashed them with some big runs, so I'd probably take the points with Minnesota.
Dalvin Cook is going to destroy this team. They're going to, and Justin Jefferson, they don't have anyone that can stop Jefferson. They couldn't stop Amon-Ra St. Brown and DJ Chark. How are they going to stop Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen? I mean, that game is a mismatch to me. I think Minnesota wins. So both of those Monday games will be on my card. There's zero question they will both be on my card next week. You're on mute.
I kept myself on mute, and I've been delaying this as long as possible, but it's time to do Big Bucks results. I think I'm taking a page out of the Jim Derry playbook from last year where all of my picks are okay, except for the ones I happen to pick for Big Bucks. I went 6-2. I went 6-2 in Carville this week. The bets I made personally, I think I was 12-10 between college and the NFL. Big Bucks were not good, though. They were not good. The 49ers cost me playing in that slop. That was a teaser I had. Just not good. Spencer, take your victory lap.
Yeah, I need my goblet, my Caesar's glasses. Yeah, my Big Bucks did pretty well. It's kind of funny you mentioned the Carville contest, Zach, because I had a rough week in that one. But Big Bucks deliver, man. I was happy. You know, I got that Dolphins Patriots under hit for me. My top play hit. The Ravens covering over the Jets, and then what was my other one that hit? The Steelers is underdogs over the Bengals. So that was pretty nice to have all those hit. That was. You want to hit on the big bucks. Off to a good start. Hope to keep it going.
I'm upset a little bit that I think my bet of the week and kind of going into the week, I wanted to do it, but I hate totals. I almost made the Lions Eagles my over 48 my play of the week, and I kind of backed off then again because I hate totals. But I just. You know, my son was making fun of me, and I was wrong about it, but not by a lot. I started in his league. I was kind of just being a smart aleck, and I beat him by 50 anyway. But I started Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen this week because my reasoning was the Bills are playing the Rams, and there's going to be – I think both teams are going to be in the 30s, and I told him this. Both teams are going to be in the 30s in the Detroit-Philadelphia game. And I was right. They just didn't score – you know, Philly didn't score through the air enough, but I have the same opinion about Philly that I had before the game. I don't think they're very good. I just don't think they're very good. AJ Brown's a beast. Don't get me wrong. He's a difference maker. He is a man amongst boys, and there might not be. He might be better than any other receiver in football. I mean, that's how good he is. He might be the best receiver in football, but they can't run the ball. Like I said. They can't run the ball except for with Hurts, and they don't really have anyone else to throw to. Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. Give me a break.
Come on, he's not bad.
Philadelphia is overrated. The Giants,
they're going to win the division.
I said it.
That's Amy's own Devontae Smith.
I said before the season, and I'm going to say it now, beware of the almighty New York Giants. I said they have a chance to win the division, and I said that now that the Cowboys are basically – they're screwed without Dak. So I am bursting the Giants all the way up. I say the Giants are going to win that division.
What receivers they have, though? I know Saquon's nice, but if anything happens to Saquon, their offense is screwed because their receiving core, no one stepped up, man.
Kadarius Toney
was awful. He didn't catch a single pass. He literally had 2 carries for 20 yards. He wasn't even targeted. Kenny
There you
Galladay
go.
stunk
There you go,
again.
Kyle Brister with
Wandale
your week
Robinson
one.
got hurt. I mean, it's just so dependent on Saquon. I mean, if Saquon keep this up, maybe they will. But with his injury history, it's hard to trust.
They shut down Derrick Henry.
Look, Kyle, it's been 1 week, man. Let's not overreact. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
Kyle is not holding back on Zach.
I will. No, I look. I deserve my whipping. I think I'm in first place in the Carville pick. That's the crazy thing is Jim won the Carville picks last year and was almost out of big bucks by the end of the season. I guess that's my role this season.
I'm near the bottom of Carville right now. Wow.
Yeah,
I was 5-3 in Carville too.
That's why I was 6-2. So
yeah.
There you go. That's why we love it. It's crazy. It's hard to predict. I'm in a competition at a website called The Season, the SZN Season, where you do just straight up picks every week. They have a survivor pool, but they also do straight up picks. I'm 11-2-1 this week, and I'm tied for fourth out of like 13,000 people. Now there's like 40 other people tied for fourth, but like I had a great week in that, and my survivors are good. My Carville was good, but in this, like you try to pinpoint. That's why when I'm betting the same amount on everything because it's hard for me to gauge, maybe I'll go to 2 units on something I really like, but it just becomes difficult for me to gauge how much I like something. I'm a volume better and I like to, just try to beat the system that way. So, yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, that's like my fantasy leagues. I had some that I had a good week overall. That most of mine went really well, but I know we'll talk more about that tomorrow on the fantasy show. But I also had a few that didn't go so well. So yeah, it's the way when you got a lot of irons in the fire. It's just kind of the way it goes.
Yep, that's true. All right, guys, quick final thoughts as we wrap it up here. Jim, from you.
Again, week one, you could take the same thing out of week one than you could take out of week 14 in the NFL. They're weighted the same. So I don't think if some team was 8-1 after 9 weeks, if they went into week 10 and they laid an egg and went 8-2, that people would start just bailing on their team. Or conversely, like the Jacksonville Jaguars last year or the Bills that came out of nowhere. If a team was 1-8 going into week 10 and beat some good team, I don't think all of a sudden that anybody's going to think that team's any good. So you have to think of week one kind of the same way. And more fluky things happen in the first 2 weeks of the season than probably any other weeks at all. I think we'll have a better idea of all of these teams in 3 or 4 weeks. Then it's less overreaction. But don't tell me the Texans are going to the playoffs. Don't tell me that
the Bears.
The Bears are going to playoffs. Don't tell me the 49ers stink. All these things. And so the answer to a lot of these questions is the same one I gave about the Saints today. I called the Saints on Datitude this morning the biggest maybe in the NFL because I think that's what they are. I don't think we know. And I mean, really, hell if I know is the answer to about all these questions. And so you have to remember that. Take that with a grain of salt. When you go into next week, do not bet next week because I think Vegas probably makes more money in week 2 than probably any other week. Do not take what you saw. Don't bet against the 49ers next week because you think they stink. Don't bet on the Bears. Don't bet on the Texans. Make sure you put analysis into it. Maybe that is the play. Maybe it isn't. But like we see with a line of Bills -10 over Texans, do not overreact with week 1 and don't take it with you into week 2.
Yeah, recency bias is real and it's powerful. If anything, fade what you saw in week 1
100%.
because the lines are going to be adjusted the other way. Spencer, Jim took all your time, but a quick final thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was throwing a quick baseball thought. My Cardinals doing well, winning the NL Central, and Albert Pujols up to 697, only 3 away from 700. Let's go.
Hey, that's a hell of a story, man. That and Aaron Judge are going to be fun to watch over the last couple of weeks. Watching those home run races will be a lot of fun.
Over there.
I'll just wrap up with this. Check out the Fantasy Roundup, 2 o'clock tomorrow on these same channels. Spencer and I will go through the Week 1 results. We'll look forward to the waiver wire pickups. And we'll also check in on the Bayou Bets Listener League and see how that's going. And then we're back 4 o'clock on Thursday here for Bayou Bets to preview Week 2 of the NFL, Week 3 of college football. And Jim Datitude back on Friday.
Datitude on Thursday and Friday. Thursday with Uncle Big Nick, we do our picks. And Friday live with Jeff Duncan.
All right. And with that said, thank you everybody for joining us. And we will see you tomorrow for Fantasy, Thursday for Bayou Bets. Have a good one.